We'll go for you. Get some more stability. 25 political power doesn't do too much for us, but couldn't hurt. Yeah, we'll go with this. Get 10% stability. It's all fine and good. Next election. Elections are next year. Establishing the Head Start programs. To achieve his dreams of eradicating poverty, President Johnson has established the Head Start program. This initiative, under this auspices of the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare, is just the first of what is hoped to be many of the Johnson administration. In an effort to improve the plight of young children in economically disadvantaged neighborhoods, and particularly those of minority groups, Head Start offers summer programs and evaluations to ensure that children of low-income families succeed in adjusting to elementary education and are sufficiently developed, cognitively speaking, in order to succeed in school. Opposition from conservative circles have been somewhat muted, partially due to the fact that popular support for Head Start is fairly high, where vocal opposition is further encroached on the state's prejudices of education will only mount should the administration choose to move that way. We'll also lose political power. We'll have new expenses costing us 0.25% of our current GDP. Our support amongst voters in more conservative states and Republican Democrats look a little bit better. Okay. I mean, we're making decent money as far as I know. Growth rate's 3.6%. Our interest rate's 2%. I mean, really, the money hasn't affected us, like, at all. Like, reserve. We're making money. And if we're making money... Increase civilian budget. We could increase the civilian budget. What's that do for us? You know what, civilian war support? You know what? Spend a little bit of money on that. I'm sure that's fine. So, certified gold. The stage is tiny, sparse, just a white and red square surrounded by all sides by an audience. They're all Burbank locals, brought in by the Fanatic radio announcement earlier that day. Parker may have fucked up with the tickets, but they're still there. Young men and women with smiles on their faces, eager to see the man in the center of it all. Eisen had been terrible. He didn't mind all the GIs and RGFX locals who clamored for autographs. That was just fine by him. But it was so far from everyone. So far from Mama, especially, which hurt more than anything else put together. When her liver gave out, it broke him. He practically had to bash the death sergeant head in to give him leave. And during the funeral, friends and family had to hold him up to keep him from collapsing in heartbreak. And then the movies, each Kitchener than the last, and each more of a dud. Here, though, on the stage, guitar in his hand, swept pink onto his leather jacket, basking in the applause and cheers of a crowd, he's happy. He's an icon, an electric conduit. Hello, Mama's boy, a blight on the nation, sex incarnate, an infinite number of things. Elvis Presley is back. Don't spend the liquid reserves. Did I spend the liquid reserves? No, I think we're fine. We're all good. We're all good. Is there a reason to invest liquid reserves? Does it actually do anything? Oh, so we did get new rifles. So let's upgrade you to be slightly better, even though I don't think we use that many actual rifles. Really? You're very expensive, but I'm still going to research you. Even though it's 735 days from now, I'm still going to get it researched. We can go for you as well. So, all that's looking pretty nice. What is our civilian factories right now? It is currently at 36%, which is actually quite high. 50% utilization. Ruben had the right idea. So we're at... What is this? Oh, no, it's still negative 26. I thought the negative was not there anymore, but no, it's just hiding in the little scale. Okay, well, you don't do too much for us at the moment. Piece of little political power gain goes up a tiny amount. Maybe we just need to kind of get rid of all of our horrible penalties in regards to the civil rights movement. It is nice, the narrative that they've kind of established. Like, it is basically like a choose your own adventure book, except it's in Arts Fire 4. It's definitely a strange direction to take a mod. Even like other more, I guess, lore-heavy mods, like Kaiserreich or stuff like that. There's nowhere near the same amount of narrative. You'd usually have, you know, 3 years of narrative in those kind of mods. Also, it's starting to rain heavily outside. So hopefully the power doesn't go out, because I know it's supposed to, like, storm a little bit where I am. So if the stream ends for all of a sudden, that's going to be the reason why. Just as a heads up. But yeah, like, I feel like this mod's going to be very, very replayable, because every single country is going to be so wildly different than one another. Just because of all the, you know, the unique paths and stuff. Did you hear what happened to Pink Panzer? That's the developer, right? I think. But the answer to the question would be no. I don't know. Why are you here? Why is there a ship in the middle of the Atlantic? Those two include Lyndon Baines Johnson sat at the Oval Office, the rare pleasure of pure unabashed silence consuming the room. Paper after paper, meeting after meeting. The day had been a long one, and the sun was just now caressing the western horizon. Suddenly, the door creaked open, and through it entered the Vice President, Edmund Muskie. The two proposals for the new immigration bill had finally finished. Democratic written, said Muskie, placing the one down in front of Johnson. Republican written, that he said, placing the other. Johnson exchanged no words with Muskie. He simply sat, scanning his eyes through the Democratic written immigration bill. It was very long, very thorough, and very restrictive. Immigration quotas would be increased but upheld. Travel to the United States from Germany and Japan would remain very heavily restricted, and it would only slightly lessen requirements for applying for a visa. In short, it was extremely conservative as he expected it to be. Technically, it wasn't even totally written by the Democrats. The Republicans had a part in writing it as well, but the Dems always did have a tendency to drown out others. Next, Johnson flipped through the Republican proposal. At this point, it was just a rough draft, still subject to significant future revision, but the groundwork for basic contents were there. Johnson found it much more amenable to his plans for the previous one. If implemented, the bill would remove immigration quotas entirely, open up travel to and from Germany, Japan, and other foreign powers, and generally lessen restrictions on entering the United States, which have been very strict since the end of the Second World War. Which one are we going to go forward with, asked Edmund Muskie. If we go ahead with a Democratic proposal, we'll probably garner some more votes with it, so it's more assured. Our proposal, on the other hand, which is much more in line with our policy and campaign promises, would be hard to push through Congress, and the Democrats will consider it a slap in the face. Well, I will say we're going to go with the Democratic proposal, mostly because I don't know if we want any immigration from Germany or Japan. Like, that seems like it could be a bit of a risk. Yep. 1 second. Loud button there. There we go. That's a very sad story. Sorry to hear that about Pink Panther. Foreign capital, subsidizing our companies, some support and okay. We welcome financial advisors or ambassadors, I guess. So we should be okay, because we don't want the Democrats to completely lose faith in us. If we can have, you know, some support together, even though with the Republicans and the Center NPP, like, we should almost have enough votes to get what we want done anyways. When are you going to be done? Because we're still slowly trying to produce tanks. Because you need anti-air equipment. Kind of like, we'll just kind of leave you as is. Is there any, like, what do we have a lot of? 10,000 bazookas, the 26,000 rifles. Like, I don't think there's no wars happening right now, right? No, the world's basically at peace. Hans Tales. Hans stood at the main desk of the SS Columbia, a shipping barge. A massive ship pulled into the port of New York City. A large vessel passed by Ellis Island. This is everything Hans had ever hoped for and more. As Germany had fallen into pieces around him, he fled from his university dormitory to Denmark and then to Scotland. For more than a year, he had bided his time in Scotland, struggling to learn English, drifting from job to job, and desperately seeking entry an entry visa into the United States. Han's wish finally came true when President Lyndon Johnson's new immigration bill, which after decades of hostility allowed German nationals to enter the United States. Of course, once had obtained a visa, but no longer was travel to America limited to the rich or the powerful in Germany. Now even poor little Hans could pop into the ship in a new world for a new life. The barge was reeled into a port on the north side of Manhattan. Walking down the plank onto a concrete dock, the Hudson River in his back, and the wind in his hair, he finally arrived. America! The stench of ocean salt and garbage and the industrial pollutants dominated the air, but Hans could care less. It was less the smell of refuse and more the taste of liberty. Hey you! Hans turned around. The greasy-looking dock worker with jet black hair and distant accent talked to him. "You're just gonna stand there, or are you gonna get work unloading the boat?" "I'm sorry," replied Hans with a thick accent in English. "I just arrived from Sweden. My name is John." The man looked over, a pensive look in his eye. "Well, John, you the Swede, I need a few more hands on the dock soon. How do you like the job working for me?" Hans looked out over the massive hive of humanity called Manhattan. So much was different and new and breathtaking. The Empire State Building, jets flying far overhead, the hustle and bustle of living, breathing the city of New York. He had finally made it. New York City. I've only been to New York once, and it actually did not smell as bad as I expected it to. I did expect to go there and just, it just smelled like complete shit. But no, it was not so bad. For the most part. The subways did kind of have an odor to them. But for the most part, everything there was better than expected cleanliness-wise. Okay, we got 2 more days until we're due into the breach. After that, for those worthy, let's reshuffle police forces. It's like, yeah, it's like we're getting more options. It says in the thing, like, we're getting more options for this. Like, look how many things we can do. That's all cool. If I didn't have negative 369 political power, I would love to click these buttons. Awesome event. Enforcement 1. It is kind of cool that you can kind of do these little options, and then you get a little, like, flavor text about the consequence of your own actions. With good old John the Swede. Enforcement one way or another. View Albright stepped out of his car, the balmy air of another sunny Alabama morning warming his skin. He walked along the sidewalk to the entrance of his pride and joy, Albright Deli and Butcher. Some people might think running a butcher store to be a poor career, but Bo had built the store with his bare hands, and he was exceedingly proud. He locked the door, stepped inside, and began his work breaking down the fresh hog that he received yesterday. Not long after he had finished splitting the hog into its constituent parts, a man in a suit stepped through the door, flanked by local sheriff James Green. The suited man introduced himself as David Smith, an attorney for the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare. The federal man was definitely an out-of-towner from the Yankee accent. "Mr. Bo Albright," he began, "I'm here to inform you that your business is in violation of new federal civil rights mandates. You must remove your whites-only sign." Bo stood there as if not comprehending the man's words. He looked at Sheriff Green, who shrugged. "I built this place with my own 2 hands," he said. "Don't I got a right to choose who I let into my store? Them Negroes? I apologize. Is it dirty folk? And I start letting them in, I'll lose my good customers. If you don't start letting them in," said the Yankee, I have the authority to pursue legal action against you, potentially leading to the condemnation of your property. Take down your sign." With that, the Yankee turned his heel and left the dumpy little butcher shop. Bo looked at Sheriff Green. "You can't let that carpet bagging? Carpet bagging son of a bitch do this to me," he said. "This is a violation of my rights." Sheriff Green sighed. "If you're really angry, call the governor's office. I hear he's already giving Yankees in Washington an earful. We'll get through this, but don't worry. I doubt the attorney's going to show up again. I won't tell him if you just keep the sign up." The feds are trying to enforce civil rights. Negative 50 political power? I didn't need political power. You know what? I didn't need it. Take it. It's yours. I don't want it. Clearly. I'm already a negative 419. What's another negative 50? You know? What? Who? I have the game paused. That's my bad. But yeah, it's political power. Yours. You can have it. I don't need it. You know. It's all good here. I'm sure we're gonna lose Romania side with Germany. What else do you want to research? Well, I think for right now, I'm not cheating. I'm not adding political power. I think these still work for this tank. So I'm going to research it now anyways. We'll get like a really strong tank going on here. So the Unity Pact is looking pretty strong. Italy is getting some countries here as well. Stubborn Southern businesses. Lyndon Johnson looked over the contents of the manila folder and laid out on his desk in a report of thousands of businesses across the South who had refused to observe the new desegregation rules the government had been attempting to force for the past few weeks. Flipping through pages and pages of names, dates, and places, the president finally reached to an end of the report. Given the vast amount of resistance to civil rights, it seems necessary that more effective enforcement, more strict punishments for offending entities are in order. President Johnson sighed. He knew that the South would always try to push back against such measures. Any single step back he took in any direction would cause a massive amount of political backlash, either in the South or in the rest of the nation. Few men knew just how hard it was being president, and rarely was it more difficult in situations than these. He could do nothing or do something and be hated. Again, negative 50 political power? Whatever. Who cares? I'm so far down in political power. If I go to negative 2,000, then so be it. You know what I mean? So be it. Yes, we got some better armor. Then, well, I guess we'll just go with you, because I still think it works for all the tanks. We're going to research it. I think it makes sense for us. Are you a new unit? A new unit spawned in. Incredible. We're not training the units. I mean, we have 20,000 rifles. So you might as well, I guess, make some National Guard divisions that are pretty cheap. They're not that good, but they are cheap. So we'll get those guys going, and hopefully things will be fine. How's Africa doing, by the way? Are you... They're not my faction anymore. They're also not unified at this point. Congolese Republic. I mean, I guess you're fascist, which is probably not great for us. But as long as you're not supporting the Germans, that's okay. Is this, yeah, the city is still called Hitlerstadt. I think they've changed that at some point, but I guess not. Who are you? You're just still around? Because I don't think the Central African Republic exists in any way, shape, or form. I do wish you kind of... I wish I didn't choose the Central African option there. But again, I do blame Twitch chat for that. So if anything bad, all that down there, all because of Twitch chat. There. How is the deficit going? I think it's fine. Debt, 174 billion. Total GDP. We're still generating money, which I think is fine. Okay. Southern obstinance. Today, President Johnson has held a press conference to address the major issues at hand with the implication of the Civil Rights Act across America. Many have openly claimed that discrimination is still heavily present across the nation, especially among police forces. The president, with heavy anticipated statement, had this to say. It has been a great many weeks since the passing of America's most recent civil rights bill. However, it has come to our attention that the administration that in many cities across America, the segregated areas remain due to extreme police prejudice. That African Americans are still forced into lower class status due to the strength of the lawmen who were commanded to protect them. Additionally, there have been many claims that certain discriminatory supremacist organizations have infiltrated many municipal police departments. After so many reports from so many sources, and in my opinion, that immediate action must be taken to rectify the issue. As such, our administration has been moving to reshuffle suspect police forces, mandate heavier background checks and screening measures for new officers, and break up the bonds between many law enforcement agencies and third-party elements, such as the Ku Klux Klan. Already, the move has drawn criticism from the South, most notably from Alabama Governor George Wallace, who called President Johnson a tyrant for infringement upon the rights of states and enforcing their own laws. It would appear that many politicians of the far-right wing of the National Progressive Party are moving to block any legislation the Johnson administration can introduce to regulate municipal police. As it stands, it appears that the president wishes to see his desires realized. He may have to do that through an executive order. Another negative 50 political power. You know what? Just keep stacking it on top. Just stacking it up. You look at Russia? Sure. Right now, we've got you, who's kind of like in two separate pieces. There's no wars happening quite yet, but I'm sure at some point there's going to be more conflict in this region. Boris Yeltsin's here. How old was Yeltsin in 1967? I've got Georgy Sukov. Who else are here? Just some minor dude. He's in charge in this area. Shifting winds. Bo Albright stepped out of his car, stretched his legs after a long drive to Legion Field Stadium, Birmingham. His wife stepped out beside him, and he began to walk to the entrance. I'm glad the governor is holding a rally about this whole integration business. They ain't got no business being in my store, no matter how much the damn Yankee attorney tells me I can't stop them. Oh, Bo, said Penelope. You ain't never been so riled up before. It was a 3-hour drive to Birmingham. I'm surprised you're still so upset. Anyhow, I do hope there's good seats for us. I fell past the ticket inspector, both in the stadium. It was filled with thousands of people, even down to the field. Thousands of field seats surrounding George Wallace's platform in the middle. Bo and Penelope surprisingly found empty seats there, not 50 feet from the governor. They sat and listened to George Wallace talk about segregation and for what felt like half an hour. That's it, only half an hour? Now, said Wallace, who can hear small business odor? Bo stood up in a sea of seated men and women. Wallace called him up on stage. What's your name, friend? Have you been to a National Progressive Party rally before? Bo almost eaged up in front of the thousands who were watching him. My name's Bo Albright. My sport was forced to let in them by the federal inspector. I ain't never really cared for politics. His words were cut off by thunder applause from the audience. George Wallace took the microphone from Bo's hands. Did you hear that? An average, nonpartisan businessman was forced against his will to integrate. This is what President Johnson wants. He wants to take away our rights to choose, not just as states, but as people. He's stepping up his enforcement measures, and I say let him. The National Progressive Party will stand for what's right. As I have said many times before, segregation now, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever. Do not take this out of context. Dude, if I say anything, it's all within the context of the game. These are not the opinions that I hold. Do not clip or take anything out of context. I would appreciate that. Yeah, I do know that this is the guy that dissolved the USSR. He was the first president of Russia after the collapse. I can't tell how old is. That's what I was wondering. I was just wondering how old he was. I don't know.